but these guys are good guys in the gym, all right? It's a good gym. We have nothing but respect for Ben and the work he does, but this guy is a piece of shit, all right?
All right, Alf. Like, what's going on here, man? Like, first of all, like, are you a fighter? Like, what's happening here?
You're listening to Behind the Lines, a podcast presented by In Play Live and powered by Pinnacle, the #1 sportsbook where winners play and never get limited. Go to pinnacle.com/InPlayLive to sign up and get in the game.
Welcome in. It's Behind the Lines, powered by Pinnacle, purifying the sports betting industry. I'm Shane. Pace is here, and joining us is a sports bettor. He's a sports betting influencer, a possible prize fighter, and the host of the Elf Show on Twitter Spaces. Elf, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, boys. Super excited to be here. Some fellow live bettors are always friends of mine, so let's get into it. Let's have a good time.
Hey, it's Pace. It's rare we get somebody coming onto the show who identifies themselves as a live bettor.
Yeah. Identifies themselves. It's rare for a reason. There's very few, if any, that are like, oh yeah, I'm a live betting professional. That's uncommon. So welcome. You're one of us. He's one of us.
One of us. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Elf, we'll get to some of the craziness that surrounds your socials in a moment, but I want to give our audience a bit of a sense of who you are as a sports bettor, because I think many in our audience, they're not as engaged in the gambling Twitter community as you are, and they may not be familiar with you. They may not be familiar with a lot of the personalities that you engage with on there. But so give us a sense of who you are as a sports bettor. From what I understand, you've been betting for a few years now. I think maybe you found or started at least to find your success in arbing and middling. Am I right?
Yeah, so I'll give a quick background just to people who have no idea who I am. So I'm a math kid. I went to school for actuarial science and then worked as an actuary for 2 years at a large insurance company before leaving, doing content and this full time for the time being. I made a name for myself, pretty much, like you said, arbing. I was promoting Odds Jam, and I built a large majority of my bankroll middling. So you pretty much nailed it. I had a great middling edge on FanDuel Live, middling player prop edge. It's now dead, unfortunately, but I made a large sum of money doing that. So completely true. I love the live betting stuff. It's, in my opinion, it's way more fun and exciting than pre-match, but to each their own. So yeah, you pretty much nailed it. That was a good intro.
Wow. All right. Research notes. Check. Perfect. All right. We're on the right track here. So what do you do now? You obviously you're saying you're a live bettor. Are you focused on esports? What do you really like to bet on live? What are you looking at?
Yeah, I bet on everything, to be honest, like wherever I find value, essentially. A lot of my live betting strategy is, I guess you would say, like top down, but I do have a lot of spots where I'm actually tailing what people would consider to be soft books. A lot of the times, if you build a large data set from just strictly arbing, like last year I had over, I think, like 10,000 bets made. If you look at that data and you pretty much just follow where the money's going, which books are, and especially it's very market dependent. So if you're looking back, don't just look at which books up money, which books down money. Look at the specific markets, and then you can just tail those. So yeah, if you collect data is everything in life. So I worked for a large insurance company. Everything we did was data. Your betting should be the same way. So look at specific markets and just pretty much reevaluate your process. I'd say monthly is a good time to reevaluate and just try to get a large sample size before you make conclusions. So that's what I do pretty much, like top down, but it's not just generic market dependent stuff. A lot of the times I'm just looking at one book and finding good opportunities there. Yeah.
Right. Pace, that sounds a lot like kind of what we do.
It is actually quite a bit different, because the foundation of what he's doing is arbitrage betting, where he had the I guess, the overall insights and intelligence to go, hey, there might be a more effective way to do this. And I think that in my experience, working with bettors that come from that background, they have an extremely hard time of letting go of the other side of the bet, despite that side having a negative expected value. So they can't handle the stress and pressure of having a wager that isn't covered. And because of that, they can't handle a little bit of a losing run. And then they can spin out of control, make bad decisions, just be stressed out separately of the betting. The list goes on and on from that. So, Alf, I give you props. I think the math background really helped you there because you had the insight to go, hey, this arbitrage stuff's working. This middling stuff's working. Obviously, that goes without say. If you're effectively executing on that stuff, you see your bankroll grow. You don't even need to track anything. So you know how you're like, data's everything? You don't need any data. You just freaking see the numbers in real time. You bet them and you go, geez, this is working. I don't need to do anything else. It's literally that simple. Now, you did track everything. You did piece the data together and you went, hey, the money's flowing in a certain direction on a consistent basis. If I actually remove the other side of this, I'm actually increasing my EV by ensuring that the negative EV side is not included in these wagers anymore. And that's an evolving process in and of itself, because you said you reevaluate on a month-to-month basis. There's a very good chance that 6 months, a year from now, it isn't flowing in the same way, not necessarily not in the same direction, but not in the same way that it was today. And because of that, then you have to continue to make adjustments. And in order to do that, you have to actually have that data to see, what's going on. That's really cool. I also give you kudos, because if anyone's listening to this and they're like, oh, that sounds brilliant, or that sounds doable, or that sounds easy, execution's everything. And he's obviously put in the time to be successful at this. So I think the Elf show, I mean, we're going to get into it. It's like a fun and kind of a crazy space, but behind it all is someone who knows what he's doing. So give you props for that.
It is definitely interesting, because a lot of people on my show who watch daily don't, even know that I'm profitable at all, because I don't really act profitable on my show. But I did want to touch on one more thing before we get into the Elf show stuff. Is that transition, if you ever do decide you're going to make the transition, if you're just an arbor, from arbing into just like, betting the side that you deem to be mathematically profitable instead, you don't have to fully transition. You could create like artificial positions and stuff like that, where let's say you have $1,000 on a -110 and your hedge side, let's just go with market is at like +130, and you have that really good value at -110. You don't have to lock in a position where you're just making $100. If you wanted to, you could free roll the -110 side with that price and just have a position where you're either winning a couple hundred or losing nothing. So if you're someone who like really can't stomach taking a loss at all, like it's just too much for you, which is fine. Like, some people want to do this like as a side hustle. They don't want to put in a bunch of time to lose money on a day. Then that's kind of a good transition point, is to partial hedge or free roll a good bet instead of just losing all your expected value. So that's a good way to think of it as well.
Yeah, and just since we're on the topic, I think scalability is a massive part of investing, and you actually have to put this style of betting in the category of like active investing. It's not passive. It's not happening behind the scenes.
No, definitely not.
It's hands-on, and you have to do it yourself. Yeah. So where people don't necessarily understand why you would transition out of covering bets up is because from the standpoint of scalability, if you're in the stock market, oftentimes there is no cap to how big it can go. Now, it doesn't matter if it's the casino or the sports book, there's something that's called a max bet. So this is why the theory of martingale never will work for you, and you will always get burned. It's because you either, one, run out of money, or two, you hit the table maximum where you can't chase your money down any further. And that causes you to end up losing as a result. So it will work until it doesn't. And then when it doesn't, you're dead. Now, the reverse of that is the scalability discussion when it comes to sports betting. So if you're doing this stuff and you're betting $10 and then all of a sudden you're betting 100 and then maybe you're betting 1,000, you're like, holy smokes, this is scaling fast. This is profitable. Yeah. This is awesome. But once you get above that $1,000 range, especially when you're starting to look at the $5,000 to $10,000 range, you realize that there's a maximum on a lot of these books that will no longer take the action. And in some cases, the $1,000 range is already capped off for you. So why would you stop covering up bets, middling bets, etc.? Well, the first is because you're leaving profit on the table by covering up the one side, and it helps you to scale by not doing that. And the second is that you lose sports books when you didn't necessarily turn a profit. So if you have a middle where both sides are minus 110 and one side lost consistently for the entirety of one night, the other side won consistently for the entirety of the night, you actually net lost money on those two books over the course of that night. And you may have lost a sports book because of it, because the side that won all the bets had the soft lines that won you all the money on that book that got you flagged. Yeah. You end up losing a freaking sports book and you didn't net turn a profit. So once you start understanding where those soft sides are and you abandoned the negative EV side of the equation, you eliminate the fact that that same example actually net lost you money, and you sit there going, yes, I lost a sports book, but at least I turned a profit doing it. So I find that the bigger the sports bettor becomes in the live betting landscape, the more likely they are to start uncovering bets from the standpoint of scalability, number one, and then of course, number two, profitability, but also sustainability. And then at the end of that is, of course, that same bettor who can't scale anymore because you're hitting those maximums, and you have to come up with consistent betting amounts, because you'll be sitting there on, Pinnacle, they're willing to take 10,000, bookmakers willing to take 5,000. And then you're like, geez, I really want to place this at FanDuel, and they're only taking 500. So you have to, if you place it, if your unit sizing is consistent with what max bets are available, you can really screw yourself over, because you overscaled and you're betting too high on one book and too low on others because that's their max.
Yeah, that's a good point. And oftentimes it's those short books that take those high limits, so you can't.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's a big part of why I do as much of my betting as I possibly can at Pinnacle when I can, just for that reason, because I don't need to burn a book and lose a book, just constantly hitting soft lines. If I can get a similar line, maybe even with better juice at Pinnacle, which I find often. But
Shane, let me ask you a question about that then, because I'm actually curious. So you imply that you do well there with that statement.
Yeah, I have done well more recently than perhaps when I first started at this, but yeah.
What about all time? Because, you don't want to pick
shit.
We don't want to just pick a recent sample size.
No, of course. Yeah, no. All time. I think if I go pull up my Pinnacle tracker, I think I'm probably down about 2.5K all time. And that's going back. We're talking going back about 3 years. So I was down significantly on that book for a while. I would say in the last year, maybe within the last year, I've managed to sort of pull it back. And once I cross that threshold, that zero sort of threshold, and get it in the positive, I'll be sure to let all of you know.
There you go. So, okay, but what my question was going to be, and that's a great question, Elf, and also too, someone's legit when they say my Pinnacle tracker.
Yeah,
it's not just bullshit shooting from the stars. But so separately of so net loss, let's just say net loss of 2,500, but way more than it was, way higher than that. And you've kind of found a bit of a sweet spot there where you're hitting them when and where it makes the most sense. And what Shane's referencing there is, if you have what you believe to be a plus EV opportunity that's actually available at all sports books, and now this is a whole other discussion, but people that require soft lines for them to be plus EV isn't always the case. There can be plus EV situations separately of a soft line based on what's going on in a game. And that's just a whole other discussion. What Shane's saying is sometimes Pinnacle has the best price in those situations or the same price in those situations. So why would I burn a book if I took this over at Bet365 when I know that I can take it at Pinnacle? That's essentially what he's alluding to in this spot. Now, take the negative 2,500 out of the discussion. Let's talk about the positive runs that you've had there. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you pulling money out or are you leaving it in?
No, I'm pulling it out.
So you have a system to withdraw.
I have a system. I usually, my system is pretty simple. I hit about 5K, I pull 4K out. simple.
Do you keep like 1K?
Okay. Yeah. And that's, that's for me, my betting size. It's pretty simple. And I like to, I pull the cash out and I stash it away. And, if I need to redeploy it somewhere else, I'll redeploy it somewhere else. But it's pretty simple that way. Yeah.
Okay. And when you drop down to the 1,000,
how
much are you betting per bet? And obviously this isn't your bankroll. So if you guys,
I'll fire $500,
so you have two bullets in there.
I have 2 bullets. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
If I lose it, it's no big deal. You know what I mean? You lose it. I'll reload the Pinnacle again, maybe, a week later or something like that. Or maybe even, the next day, depending on the situation and what sports are live at the time and what we're trying to hit and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a pretty sort of, and I get that for most people out there, perhaps in your space, Elf, that's peanuts and that's small potatoes and that kind of thing, and I understand that, but, I'm not, I don't feel like I need to sort of pretend like I'm somebody I'm not.
Shane, you don't need the amount of people that dream of being able to bet and afford a $500 bet is insane. You're living someone else's dream, my friend.
100%, and I recognize that. And sorry, go ahead, Alf. What were you saying?
I said you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. I promise you. Like these people that these guys in the Elf spaces. Believe me, in the Elf spaces, the characters we have are not people that you need to gain their approval. Trust me.
Well, I guess and that's how I feel about it. That's exactly how I feel. But so let's get into it, Alf, because let's pull some of this up. Here we go. Okay. The first thing I'm going to share here is this is a pinned tweet. This is what people see. They come to your Twitter page. This is what they're going to see right off the bat here. So let me just give this a spin here. And of course, everybody out there who's listening, this is one where you really want to tune in and tune in on YouTube so you can watch it. But the audio will give it away too. But here it is. The caption: pulling up on Sean Perry while he was training. Just went to his gym. Challenge him to back up all his fight talk, I guess we'll call it. And of course, he pussies out. Here, let's give this a little play.
Run it right now. Listen, you got it, bro.
Let's run one round right fucking now. And
bro, for what? I'll see you.
So I can beat your ass. All right, boys, we are here at Sean Perry's gym. This guy doesn't want to fight me. He challenged me for 100,000. It's now or never, Perry, because I'm leaving tomorrow. This is Cleon. He's been working with me all month. Professional fighters. These guys been coaching me all month. And we're here. Let's do it. Oh, he's literally training right now. Look at this fool, bro. What is he training for? He said you want to do it. Let's do it. What are you training for right here? When?
Bro, let's do it. 2 weeks, dude.
2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yo, you keep pushing back the day. Yeah, let's go. Let's run it right now, bro. Sponsors, my editor, he cost me so much fucking money. You're disrespectful, dude. I'm ready to go. You said the 4th, and then you made up a little rib injury. And now it's the 10th, and now it's done. What's going on? Let's fight it right now. Let's run it right now.
Listen, you got it, bro.
Let's do it. All right, let's run one round right fucking now. And
bro, for what? I'll see you.
So I can beat your ass, dude. I've been training all fucking month. I spent a whole month out here in Vegas to fight this guy. He cost me sponsorship money. I had to pay everything out of pocket. My editor, I flew them all out for this opportunity, and he pulled out 4 days before the fight, okay? Disrespectful. He didn't even let me know or nothing. I have nothing but respect for Ben and Nemia. I have no respect for him at all. But these guys are good guys in the gym, all right? It's a good gym. We have nothing but respect for Ben and the work he does. But this guy is a piece of shit, all right?
All right, Alf. Like, what's going on here, man? Like, first of all, are you a fighter? Like, what's happening here?
Nah, there's just so much backstory to this. So, I mean, I would host these spaces, and Sean Perry would always come in talking about how he's the best gambler, this and that. And he ended up fighting this guy, Mozzie, I streamed it. He fought this guy, Mozzie, and it popped off. Like, that episode had like 780,000 views or something like that. And,
wow.
I got everyone in the community pretty much wanting to fight. So it was just fight talk for a whole month. And, Sean and I were friends. And then he just, I was trying to organize this rematch fight between him and Mozzie, and they were going to put 500,000 on it. And he was just speaking over everyone. Like, Des Bryant was in that spaces. Bryce Hall was there. And no one could get a word because Sean Perry kept talking over everyone. And I kicked him from the space so that we could actually have a normal discussion. And then he just blasted off on Twitter, just talking mad shit about me. he was talking about my dad, how he's just like, how my dad's broke, this, and just talking about my family, like crossing the line. And I was like, all right, if you want to talk like that, like we could fight, and we could put money up on it. So he wanted to fight me and put 100,000 up on the fight. And I said I was down. So he wanted 3 weeks. So I flew out to Vegas, and in that video was the Barrientos twins. The Angel is the number 14th ranked fighter in the U.S. right now in the bantamweight, and his twin brother Chavez, who's fighting in less than a month, and he's 10-0. So they trained me for a full month of boxing. I've never been in a fight before, never even been in a street fight. I'm a math kid, and I was down to fight this guy for 100,000. And the whole month I'm out there, he's telling me, "Oh, we're going to do this." So I'm like, "All right, if we're going to do it, let's do it big." So I got sponsors. I flew out my editor. I flew out, a bunch of other people to help with the content and stuff like that. And to be fair, like making the content helped build my brand. But, I was trying to get a fight in. Like I trained all month. Like I was sparring amateurs. Like I probably got like 3 minor concussions over the course of the month sparring people.
Whoa,
I had my nose
serious.
Yeah, I had my nose busted open like many times sparring these guys. Like I fought like a 7-5 amateur fighter, and he like uppercut me right in the nose. Like my nose was bleeding like crazy. I was ready to fight, and then 4 days before the fight, he's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna fight. I have a little rib injury," and he's still training in the gym. So I'm like, first of all, what is he training for if he's not training to fight me? And 2, how does he have a rib injury if he's training? So it just doesn't make sense. He just didn't want to fight, which is why I said in the video, he's a waste of time, he's a waste of money, and he's a piece of shit. So I stand by everything I said. And if he ever wanted to run it, I would do it in a heartbeat.
All right, Elf. So
Yeah.
Shane, I gotta thank you first because I didn't say this, but your transparency relating to that last discussion was 10 out of 10. I'm sure people listening appreciate that. So full transparency, Elf. How much of this is bullshit? How much of it is made up?
Of the Sean Perry stuff?
The video I just watched. What's real? What isn't?
I would say a lot of it, none of it is actually scripted. A lot of it is like organic, which is why the show grew so fast. But some people take the opportunity to get into the spotlight, like Sean, and he'll say the right thing so that he could stay in the spotlight. So for me, I was training hard for a fight that I thought was going to happen. Sean Perry, the whole time, he was never going to fight. He just wanted me to tweet about him, talk about an event with him. So in his mind, the whole thing was fake for clout, even though for me, it was real. So a lot of
times, you're saying on one side of the equation, there was never a fight that was intended, but on your side, It's completely valid. You flew to Vegas with the intent to fight.
Sponsors, yeah.
You went into the gym that day without him knowing that you were showing up?
Yeah.
So that was real, what we just watched?
Yeah. I mean, I knew he trained there.
Because you realize like that looks like it could just totally be bullshit.
100%. I had someone actually scouting out that gym for a few hours when I know he goes. And then people hate Sean Perry. You don't understand. Like this guy is so like he's probably the most hated person in Vegas. So if you want anyone to do anything,
I want to just chime in a little bit about Sean Perry and just give our audience a bit of detail on who the guy is, because I think a lot of people out there listening and sort of following us pace, I think you might agree, are, like I said earlier, aren't as dialed into this community perhaps online, and may not even know who Sean Perry is. So Sean Perry's kind of like
good.
I would argue good. He's one of these guys out there that tries to look like a big shot sports bettor. He's trying to create a following, and he wants to be a sports betting influencer. He is a sports betting influencer. He sells picks. He does all that sort of stuff. He fits in with that vein, and a lot of the stuff he does is pays typical stuff that we've called out here on the show plenty of times. Just a bunch of bullshit, right? But he even called out Jeff Benson, from Circa Sports Pace on Twitter, and he just looked like a complete clown. But anyway, I want to talk though about the fight that led to this fight that never happened, and the one with the other influencer who I would put in the same category as Sean Perry. Like, to me, they're all one and the same, and they're a dime a dozen. They're all out there doing the same kind of bullshit. But that fight actually did happen.
Yeah.
You were a big part of making that fight happen, Elf. And Sportsbooks actually posted lines on the fight. Like, I know Bet Online for sure posted lines on the fight.
Yeah.
I don't know if other books did too, but talk to me about like How did that happen? And was that real?
Yeah, so that one was 100% real, obviously, because it happened. So I was just hosting a normal Twitter Spaces like I do, and that day, Des Bryant was tweeting, because Des Bryant's like part of the sports betting community now. He does work with Fanatics.
Which is very cool.
And pretty much a lot of people in the sharp betting community, I put sharp betting in quotes because a lot of these guys aren't sharp. They cosplay as sharp. They were all anti-Des Bryant, right? They're like, get this guy out of here. He's trying to sell picks. And my whole point of view was we've never heard from Des. We don't know what his intentions are in the community. And if we have a big influencer like Des he was one of the best wide receivers of our generation.
Sure.
Why can't we, instead of just like exiling him, calling him a scammer, why can't we try to bring him in and make use of him, right? So I was arguing with everyone in my show the whole night, and Des Bryant pops in to the show that night.
Love it.
And Des Bryant was pissed, because he hears these people talking shit about him all night. So he was pissed. He was pissed off. And then Sean Perry pulled up and Mozzie pulled up, and they were all arguing with each other. So Mozzie came in and he was talking shit to Des Bryant, calling Des Bryant irrelevant. And I think Sean Perry saw Mozzie and Des Bryant on the show, so he had to get himself involved. So then it became Mozzie was beefing with Des and Sean Perry at the same time. And then Des and Mozzie made up, and it was just Sean and Mozzie going back and forth. And Mozzie was saying he's going to beat Sean's ass, this and that. And they're like, fuck it. Like, time and place tomorrow, we're doing this in a gym. So this is like 2 a.m. They're arguing, and they got a time and place. I'm like, all right, if you guys are really doing this, I'm booking my flight to Vegas to watch this and stream it. So on the show, I booked my flight, which pressured Des Bryant to book his flight. And now that me and Des Bryant are both flying out to see this fight, now they have to fight. Like, it pot commits them, because they're both on the show talking shit to each other. They're going to fight. And we're all going. So, and I'm going to stream it. So that actually did happen. Once we're in the gym, I hit up Dave Mason, and I was like, yo, put up a line for this. Like, people are going to want to bet on this. You know what I mean? So they threw up a line, Sean Perry versus Mozzie, and it was incredible because the way they was trading it was trading based on the footage I was getting in the gym. So Sean Perry opened up at like minus 130, and I'm only filming Sean Perry, and he's like talking all this shit, this and that. The line goes to minus 220 Perry. Mozzie pulls up in a Lamborghini. The line steams down from minus 220. Now Mozzie's the favorite because of the action. Because people see Mozzie pull up in a Lamborghini and start talking shit to Perry. He's the favorite. And then I streamed them warming up, and Perry's throwing punches. He looks like he's throwing a punch. I streamed Mozzie throwing punches. You could tell he's never thrown a punch in his entire life.
Amazing.
And then the line steams. And this is when the limits were higher, because it was right before they're about to get in there. Like $500 limits on that line on this Perry Mozzie fight. I show Mozzie throwing punches. The line steams all the way. Perry closed at like minus 300. And then Perry just whooped his ass in there. So that was how that fight happened. And it was great. Yeah, that one was great.
It sounds hilarious, Pace. It almost reminds me of some of the betting we do at the IPL event, like where it's like, who's doing what and what we did with SX, and people are getting, inside, information on who's who and who can do what and that kind of thing. But Elf, I got to ask you, like, who made money off of this event, and did you cash in on this fight?
Yeah, I made a small bet on Perry when the limits were low at like minus 135. So I made 100. I think the episode was sponsored. I don't remember. But BetOnline got a lot of exposure, but they lost money trading the event. But I'm sure they got a lot of new depositors that made them money in the long run, which is really all they care about. Mozzie and Perry didn't have any money on it. I think the gym made money because they paid for the gym, and that's about it. So I made like a few hundred. BetOnline probably profited the most because they got all those new depositors. And then Perry, won the fight, so he got that social clout. That
but you paid for your own flight to Vegas. You paid for a room in Vegas. They didn't put you up, or
no? I was put up in Vegas by people in the community. So I was out there with like Porter Picks, Tommy G. They put me up in suites at Circa. Like, I was doing okay. So I paid for my own flight, but I didn't pay for my room or
Right.
anything like that. So
we need Elf. We need to get you a business manager.
yeah,
You should have cashed in on this thing.
Yeah, there's definitely.
You know what's funny though is like your show sounds like, and I do apologize, Elf. I'm not big on X or Twitter, so I know you because Spanky introduced us.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's funny because you talked about your FanDuel middles with player props, and I was like, oh my god, I saw the clip of you, and I commented on it when it first came out because I'd been doing that since 2015.
Really?
The edges closed for me around 2018.
On the FanDuel middles?
No, I don't have FanDuel where I am. Player prop middles, they go sit on the bench. You bet the under. They come back in. You bet the over.
Yeah.
I was pretty recreational with it from the standpoint that I was pretty much just honed into the Golden State Warriors but I did it every single game with every single player. And had a lot of fun doing it. Sometimes I'd uncover the over for certain players, but the timing of when you took it, knowing the situation was pretty key. But I had a lot of fun with that stuff. But it's funny, once you told that story, it's like, oh, I have seen you online. But anyways, what I was going to say is it sounds like your show is an arena for adults to act like they didn't have parents that taught them any better.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that.
Like, it's almost like where's someone that comes in and takes the high road and just says like, geez, if you guys were kids, you'd be, going to the principal's office because you're behaving like children. But also it's like, I was laughing my head off there. It sounds like it's a lot of fun and it is entertaining. So you have done a great job of providing the platform for that. And I think hopefully if someone has never seen this show before and they're watching now, they go, hey, separately of all this, kind of fun and game stuff, you do know what you're doing as a sports bettor and you're doing things that other people aren't. So there's validity behind it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. I think making sharp sports betting content is very, very difficult because once you educate or you try to educate people, you'll run into books listening and patching stuff right away. Or even worse, you'll educate someone who's really, really sharp with a lot of money who will just nuke that edge, make 10 to 20,000 and just ruin it for everyone. So I think nowadays a lot of really, really sharp people are super careful about what they share, what they don't share, just so things last a little longer nowadays. So I try to keep my show as chaotic. And even though it's a sports betting show, like everyone on the show bets on sports. That's what we all love to do. The show realistically isn't about how to bet on sports, even though we talk strategy. It's more about like who's a scammer, who doesn't like who, and why, who lost money doing this, who's faking units, stuff like that. That's
okay. So on that note, a guy like Sean Perry, since he's the guy we've brought up, have you been able to expose him from a betting standpoint where people do see that the cash and the Lamborghini are methods to get you to buy picks that are probably going to lose you money? Like, have you been able to expose him or anyone else in that regard?
Yeah, we've exposed Sean Perry many times, but the thing about Sean Perry is if you're exposing him, you're talking about him, so he likes it. You know what I mean? So
I mean proving he's a fraud.
Like, with proof and evidence. Yeah, I mean, there's a Sean Perry tracking account that people have created to track his max plays. We expose him all the time, but the problem with Sean is like he invests so much into his content. He's constantly churning content. No one. You're going to get a new person to buy his picks. You're not going to get someone who's in the community buying his picks. So he doesn't care if you're exposing him. All you're really doing is pushing him to the algorithm. Because if you keep talking about someone, Twitter's going to like that. I mean, this guy's popping. Let's keep pushing and putting his content out there. And then,
and unfortunately, there are people that buy. There are people that believe it.
Yeah, they'll buy. They'll lose some money. Hopefully, if you think about it, they're inevitably going to lose money because they'll keep buying until they lose money. So they'll lose some money and then hopefully they quit. But at the end of the day, like, it really is buyers beware, right? Like if you can't tell that this guy with his shirt off and, paid girlfriend's not legit, then, I can't really help you. You know what I mean?
No, but there's a reason why it happens. It's because people do fall for it. They've been falling for it for years. And as soon as one person gets fully exposed, the next person's already up and running. with regard to this kind of stuff. So, Elf, you had mentioned off air there that you were in a competition of some kind, and there was someone at the bottom. Can you touch on what the competition is, where you're at in it, and how it works?
Yeah, it's a fun competition. There's this app called SoBet. They're a sponsor of the show, so I'm a big fan of them. I love the guys there. They built this app, and they do like 7-day contests, essentially. Their thesis is that, if you're a sports bettor, you should be tracked, proven, and legit, right? So they created this 7-day contest. It costs $15 to enter, and it's like $6K of prizes, and there's like 200 entries. So I think it's profitable because they're investing right now. So everyone should join realistically. There's this guy, he's the #1 seller on the app, but he's in last place in the competition. So it doesn't really make any sense. And I think the competition's good because you have to beat the VIG. They have the book, SoBet, the app has a VIG attached to all the games. You have to bet into SoBet, and it's a 7-day contest. You have to deploy like 3 units per day, stuff like that. There's like minimum requirements. I'm currently in 17th, up 7.14 units, but only the top 5 cash. And it closes on Wednesday. So I think these last few days, I'm going to have to deploy a ton of units to either finish top 5 or not, right? There's no point in finishing 17th. 17th is
and here lies the problem with contests. This encourages to not play responsibly, because you literally just said you're doing well, but you have to make poor decisions to try to get into the top. So hold on a second.
Yeah.
This is or is not a sports book?
It is not a sports book. It is just an app. Yeah.
So if you place a bet, let's just use Bet Online because you've brought them up. They're an offshore sports book. Yeah. How do they know you made the bet? And do they have to be pregame? Can they be live?
It's all pregame in this competition. And the way that SoBet is getting these lines is I think they're taking like a market sync between MGM, FanDuel, Caesars, and DraftKings. So you can't just look at an odds screen and snipe stuff that's mispriced. You really do have to kind of do your own handicapping on it. And my strategy is, in my opinion, in the year 2025, if you're not an originator, originators can't really hide their bets anymore. Between the exchanges and line movement, you can't really hide where the sharps are betting. So if you really, really pay attention and you look at line movement, you can know what the sharp side of games are without knowing anything about the game. So I've been doing that. I'm up 7 units doing it. And that's my strategy with this competition, because you can't really just, bet off market props and just, grind EV. Like, you can't do that for this.
Sure. So this guy that's in dead last, but also has the highest volume of sales, would that be the right term?
Yeah, he's the highest pick seller on the app.
Okay, so then it stands to reason. Now, the first thing is the 7 days is just way too small of a sample size.
Yeah.
But it stands to reason. It brings up the question of whether Sean Perry, this guy, anyone else, are they bad enough to fade and beat the VIG?
I think this guy, if you faded him, you would beat the VIG. But Perry, I don't think so, because a lot of the times if you look at what he's betting, he is getting like the best number. So I don't think you could fade Perry and beat the VIG. But a lot of people,
the best number or getting the best number.
I mean, he shows his tickets, to be fair to Perry. Like, I don't think he's winning. He's still betting right before game time. So it's like and he's not beating the VIG on anything really. So, his whole thing is that he's got a team of originators that beat the market. I don't believe it for a second, but that is another popular opinion on Twitter, is that you could just fade these book it with Trent people and make money. Obviously you can't. Like, VIG is built in both ways. Yeah. So you can't just
have to be wrong at a pretty alarming clip. Like, you have to, you have to basically you have to be on the 53%. If you have to win at 53%, you got to lose at 47%. And even that would be that's the whole point of this, of sports betting being profitable to the books. You have to be really good at being bad to beat the VIG. You have to be really good at being good to beat the VIG.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the times the books are just doing, like, the books are just arbing positions as well. Like, they're taking a bet at -110. They're taking another bet at -110 on the other side. So they're just collecting that VIG and they don't have risk. They'll obviously move their lines based on sharp action. And a lot of these recreational books in the US don't even take sharp action. They just copy the offshore books. That way they're efficient before game time. So these books, they use a lot of the strategies that they ban their users for doing, like picking off stale lines, betting just off market things. So these books do it all the time.
I have an interesting story relating to one of the people I met at BetBash, which I found surprising, but you kind of touched on the point already. And it's something that I just didn't know that was happening in the industry. And part, I would say, Shane, you would probably agree with this as well. A lot of the stuff that culturally exists in the industry, whether it's gambling Twitter, whether it's some of the actual top pros that do attend BetBash, there's sort of a lingo and a way that things are done and said that I wasn't fully familiar with. And the reason is because just in the pregame space as a whole, I just have completely stayed out of it. Like I just stay in my lane with the live betting. But I've been accused and not paid by sportsbooks because I'm a part of a syndicate. Shane, you've probably heard a similar narrative if it hasn't happened to you with some people in the group where they know we're a part of In Play Live and they use that as an excuse not to pay. But we are not a syndicate. And anyways, I met with one of the members of the largest syndicates in the world at BetBash, and he had flown in from the UK. Okay. And he said it was very common, what the story that I'm about to tell, but he said it was very common and happened all the time with him and his syndicate. But he gave me one specific example of where William Hill was overexposed to the outcome of a particular game. And they called the syndicate and sold off their overexposure to them. And I just found that extremely surprising because the very reason that they won't pay one of their customers without evidence, and I know it's without evidence because it's me and it simply isn't true. So the very reason that they won't pay one of their customers is their fail-safe as a sportsbook themselves to de-risk a position that they're uncomfortable with. Then that conversation went a little bit further where he said separately of the book's risk or position, certain departments in the trading team or certain individuals within the trading team will have bonuses and they will be reviewing towards the end of the quarter, the end of the month, whenever that bonus is coming through, what their liability could be relating to their individual bonuses. So whether or not the sportsbook can handle the risk is a different story. We're talking about an individual trader or a team of traders who is sitting there going, Jesus Christ, this guy has a $4 million parlay payout if this particular bet hits. And my bonus will go from maybe the person's getting $1,000, maybe they're getting $10,000, whatever it is. And they go, I have to remain profitable for this quarter. And they sell off the remainder of the parlay to the same syndicate. And these conversations are happening with the sports books all the time. And then, of course, how the syndicate handles that risk is up to them from there, but they're getting priced in at the right numbers. Separately of that, like separately of syndicate use, they're de-risking with Pinnacle all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Pinnacle loves that. So they go, oh, shoot, we posted this bad line. This is the situation. Thankfully, the line's moved. We can get out of a portion of this position by placing these wagers at Pinnacle and de-risking. So it's really interesting when you start learning that kind of stuff. And one thing that does happen from time to time, it is pretty uncommon, but I think this was like 2019, but there was a pretty famous Cowboys-Jets game in the NFL where it was something like 95% of the money. So public money and sharp money was coming in on the Cowboys. And no matter the line movement that occurred, they couldn't de-risk their position. And that does happen sometimes where, you don't want to be like, oh, the poor sports books, they're in a shitty position, but they're running a business and they have to look at all the money they have on one side of a game and go, how the hell can we manage this risk if it doesn't go the way that we want it to? So yeah, that stuff's happening behind the scenes. I didn't know about that. And I thought it was pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, I didn't know about that either. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that books would be betting into Pinnacle to offload some risks, but I didn't know they negotiated with syndicates. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's something new.
Well, these guys they're big time, right? They really are. They're big time. And they get benefits from that as well. Separately of the EV they get on the buyout, they now can pick their ear on information and get ahead of the game. So the biggest, most powerful asset to a pregame bettor is information, and they get information in these scenarios.
Yeah, I think we've had a couple of guests come on the show too and talk about sort of being involved in that kind of process before, which is to hear when we get told like, oh, you're part of a syndicate and you get that email or whatever, trying to not pay you, and knowing that on the other side that these things happen, it's just it's super frustrating. But it's the kind of thing that it makes sense for the sportsbook to do. And Pace, we've talked a lot about how we need those soft books to survive, right? We want them in the ecosystem. We want them out there offering those soft lines. We want them to stay profitable so that they exist, because that just benefits everybody. So, as long as they can maybe eliminate some of the shady practices on not paying out, otherwise go ahead and de-risk. That's kind of where I'm not on it, right? Have at it. Stay, try to turn a profit so you stay alive.
That's a good example because sportsbooks write their terms and conditions they will pick and choose the points in which they will enforce those terms and conditions.
100%.
And a lot of the times, you'll get somebody violating the terms and conditions, but if they're losing, they won't enforce it. If they're winning, then they can enforce it. So that's why it's important as a bettor really to never violate the terms and conditions, or at least don't give them any information that you are violating those terms and conditions. And I'm not encouraging breaking terms and conditions. But it's just a point of reference that if you are part of a syndicate, that isn't a lot of the book's terms and conditions, like no syndicate play. But they're participating in syndicate play themselves, like it's selling off. They're essentially selling off your liability to a syndicate is recognizing syndicates as a useful part of the ecosystem. However, they don't want to allow these syndicates to bet into their book, but they will utilize them when it suits them. So it's kind of, it's just kind of scummy to think about it. When you think about it like that.
Yeah, exactly. So should we talk about BetBash then, Shane?
Yeah.
Well, there is the BetBash announcement, I want everybody to stay tuned for that. You guys we brought up BetBash quite a few times here, and Elf, you're going to be there. Pace, you're going to be there. I'm going to be there.
I will be there.
But there is an announcement. But Pace, before we do that, I want to give people a little bit more of a taste of the Elf show, because I don't feel like we've done that yet. The whole fight thing, that was separate from the Elf show. That was just other online shenanigans, and I got to give people a little more taste of the Elf show, Pace, because just to fully sort of understand what's going on out there. And Pace, when we were talking about it ahead of time, I sort of described it as a bit of like a sports betting Jerry Springer type of talk show. I think that's probably pretty accurate. But this is one of the latest ones here. Another post here
I'll
from
get some backstory into this.
Of course there's a backstory, but right off the top here, Space's war at an all-time high, and you've got a few people here that people might know or not. We've had Fats on the show, so that's a guy that Pace and I know. We've had him here, but a couple of these other people, Penny Pitt Victim, Man of the Library, I don't really know who they are, but here I'm just gonna play a little portion of this, because this will just give people a taste of the Elf show.
For a day deal.
That wasn't in library space. That was in
What are
another
you doing
space.
in here, Fats? You're running around the fucking community telling a man of the library is off limits. You're not allowed to talk to him. He's not even allowed to be in my space my show to listen. But here you are sitting like a big fat fucking pig on the fucking stage, like a fucking stage squatter. And then you're in cahoots all fucking day with this other piece of shit fucking scammer, Elfie. Right?
What are you talking about?
You're having a show where your
platform
guest
is
is a
right now.
pick seller. You're having a show where your main guest is a pick seller. What is it? You got a little.
All right, this goes on. The whole clip is long. It goes on another like 2 more minutes of this kind of stuff. I just wanted to give our audience a little flavor, a little taste of some of the Discord on there. Elfie, I got to ask, is this what you intended when you created and started doing Twitter Spaces? What was the intention behind it?
I started these Twitter Spaces because I used to stream my live betting back in January of 2024, and I built like a nice community where I'd stream to like 50 to 100 people per night. It was great, but the problem was I got banned from every single sports book in the US essentially. Besides FanDuel, as we had 10%. So I couldn't really stream anymore, and I missed it. So I would fire up these Twitter Spaces and just kind of talk to people while I live bet. That's really it. And that the community is just, they all hate each other so much. Someone would start talking about someone like, oh, this guy, man of the library, did this. And I would be DMing man of the library on the side. Like, he said you scammed this guy.
Smart.
And then that would get library in the Spaces red hot, right? You're like, you call me a scammer, this and that. And then that just built into, what it is now. And I do that all the time. If someone's being talked about on the Spaces, I'll tell them that we're talking about you. You know what I mean? And then they'll pop in and listen. And if they don't like what they hear, they'll usually come up to defend themselves. I mean, think about it like this. If someone said you were doing something on a show, wouldn't you want to defend yourself? Like, you probably would. You know what I mean? Like, you even mentioned Caesar was saying I was doing this, but it's not true. Because it bothers people when people are making stuff up about them. So that is pretty much that's how the show grew. But I started the Spaces just because I was bored while live betting. And then have this master plan. Yeah. I just kind of ran with the demand.
Really cool, though. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It's hilarious to hear about how you sort of stoke the flames a little bit, just to get people riled up and get them going at it. Real sort of your host and producer at the same time. I love it. That's that's really great. Now, one other thing that I want to mention here, because Pace, I think you're going to take issue with this, and I got to bring it up. But before we get to the BetBash announcement, because this is I saw this and I'm like, oh, I think Pace is going to have something to say about it. And this is just one more last one from your Twitter that I'm going to share here on our show, Elf. But it's this one. And look at this, though. I am the best live bettor on this app. First of all, shout out for promoting live betting. You mentioned Saturdays being a great day for betting. I think Pace and I would agree for that. Lots of games, lots of action, tons of volume. And then you share a little video of your betting setup here, and it's just a short video. We don't need to play it, but this is what your betting setup looks like, and you call it the prettiest, and you want to rate other people's betting setups. Pace, you know something about betting setups. How would you rate this betting setup?
I think it's a 10 out of 10. Yeah, it's if he thinks it's the best that there is, then it means it works great for him, and that's what's I'd say that's probably what's most important, is if you've set up your setup for what you need and you have the ability to bet the way you want with it, right? Like, betting setups are all about comfort, efficiency, and making sure that the boxes are checked. So eyes on the things that you need to have eyes on. If I were to be objective and remove myself from it being your setup, I would provide feedback to a few categories. The first would be, it's not public. So if you want to have people over for the games. The second, it doesn't look like you have the ability to watch a lot of games, but it sounds like your live betting style doesn't require eyes on the game. And the third would be, you only got 6 screens. What the hell is that all about?
Yeah, I don't know. I could always get more screens, another layer on top of the top screens. I don't need to watch the games. Although, like, I could throw up a game on one of the screens, but I have 3 different softwares running at the same time, which is why I need a strong PC to carry that sort of bandwidth. So I have like gaming PC for my betting. And then I have, 2 phones as well. So I usually have the exchanges open on my phone. Yeah. So that's usually what I do.
Yeah. As long as you see what you need to see and it's working for you, then 100%. Are you sitting at that setup right now?
I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah. And any adjustments made?
No adjustments have been made since that.
Right on.
Footage.
Right on.
I think I honestly think my setup is fully optimized at this point. I think I can't even think of anything else to add. So
cool.
I don't know.
I think you would appreciate it if you had like more screens to watch games while you're betting on them. I have to sort of put that in. I think you would like that, but my setup, Elf, is very similar to yours. Very close in terms of screens. I also have a couple of phones on the go. But I do have at least one TV set up, and I'm looking to add a couple of more this summer down here. So I can get a few more games going at the same time. But a great, solid setup there. I think a lot of people in our community, if they saw that picture, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that looks like my setup." Like I think a lot of people in our community have very similar setups to what you have.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some guys that have really gone over the top. Like, we've had guys that have they've turned their betting setup into you see some of it on social media. Like, there's a guy for the there's a Toronto Maple Leafs guy, and it's not a betting setup, but it's a sports den. There's a Green Bay Packers guy. It's crazy. There's guys that have done that, but for betting, where it's like you walk down, it's got the purple LED lights. They got the 4 or 6 TVs on the wall all plugged in. Then they have their betting like labs in and around it so you can view the games, and then also all the books that they're following. And one of the things that I love, which I had never seen before, but we had a guy who in all his screens, he had like this little stand, and it was one of these vertical screens, and it's so that there it is, Shane. I got.
Oh yeah, he just did it.
Keeps happening. There we go. At least I can fix it quicker now. The vertical screen so that you can follow a chat room, like whether it's Discord or our chat at In Play Live, whatever it is. But you've got the chat room there as well, so that you can see it all, which I thought was cool. So it was like a custom chat screen, it's ridiculous at the same time, but it's thought out, which is what I like.
Yeah, I love it.
We're gonna get to BetBash in just a sec, but Elf, are you selling picks now too? I think I saw on your Twitter there that you're also offering pick sales now, or do you have a Discord running?
No, I don't sell picks or have a Discord. I don't know where you saw this.
Oh, okay. I must have seen something else there. That's why I wanted to ask. It was just as I was sort of scrolling away there. I'm like, wait, is he selling picks? So you're not selling picks?
No, there's a lot of allegations that get thrown about.
Okay, maybe that's what I saw.
I don't sell picks. No.
Okay, you don't sell picks.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to do in this gambling space? Are you just looking to continue betting? Are you ever going to consider selling picks and going in that frame, or are you really just trying to be like a betting influencer? Like where do you sort of see your career, if you will, in this area going?
Yeah, I think the influencer route's the one that I'm going to take. I pretty much just do everything I do on social media for fun. Like, it's a bonus that I get to monetize certain aspects of it in terms of sponsorships and affiliate deals. But realistically, I'm just here for fun. That's the main thing. If I was to sell picks, I would make sure to do it in a Discord where there's like bots running. So at least you can get because if I post a line and people can't get the line, I want at least 200-300 plays a day in the Discord, so that if you could get 1 or 2 of them, it would work. I was in a few Discords like that, like with bots and stuff like that, and I made some good money. So that's how I'd want to, run it. But no, that's not the plan. The plan is just to make content and, just have fun. That's really the thesis of my social media, is to have fun.
Is it easier to be a successful sports bettor, or is it easier to be a successful influencer?
That's a good question, because it really depends on your personality. If you're someone who's very charismatic and you know how to sell, it would be way easier to be a better pick seller. As a matter of fact, I think there's negative correlation between your skill as a sports bettor and ability to sell sports betting picks. Because then you might realize what you're doing might not be good. But if you're someone who's very good at marketing, speaking, you're personable, you can be exciting on the internet, you'll do well. That's what I've seen. I brought on so many pick sellers. Every single one of them, charismatic. They're good at speaking. They always, even if they're in an argument, they'll throw in some verbiage to make them sound like they're winning. It's incredible to watch if you really pay attention to it. Some people just kind of doze off and enjoy the drama, but if you really pay attention to the psychology of these hyper successful pick sellers, you'll see that in action when they speak. So I personally think it's probably if you're a math-based person, you can really grind, then you'll make more sports betting. But if you're charismatic, then you could make more selling picks. You just gotta go all in with it. I'd say just embrace it. So it's a tough answer.
Yeah, no, great advice, lad. I think I wanted to know it. I appreciate that nuanced that nuanced response. All right, guys, let's get to BetBash. As I mentioned, we're all going to be there. If you are serious about sports betting, I suggest you at least consider going in Vegas, middle of August. I think it's like the 12th to the 15th, something like that. And Pace, we talked a little bit about your involvement at BetBash on a previous episode. I think it was last week or the week before. But Elf, you're also going to be there. You're also involved, and we have an announcement. Pace, why don't you tell the people?
Yeah, so our panel for our live betting seminar is going to feature the great Gosu Thune.
Oh, Gosu.
So
awesome.
Really excited about John joining us on the panel. He's been on the podcast a whole series of times. I think he's one of the best futures bettors out there. Tremendous live data, modeling, originating, for pregame stuff. Obviously does exceptionally well with the CFL modeling and originating. And then obviously that's the basis of all his futures, as well as where he makes all the lines for all sports that he bets. But then he translates that really well, maybe the best of anyone to live betting. So he translate that's to live. The world doesn't know who he is, and I think he's going to be an extremely beneficial person to have up on the panel. We can let people know that the next person on the panel is the one and only Ryan Noel, aka Elf. He's going to be joining us up there on the panel, and I think we're going to try to organize a fight between someone and him on the stage. I think, Shane, you and him, I know the show got pretty heated today. There was some serious beef. Maybe you guys can fight each other up on stage there. But Ryan Elf is going to be joining us, which is really exciting and awesome. And I think also it gives a chance for serious bettors to learn, if they haven't seen this show today, but learn that, the man behind all the drama is actually someone who knows what he's doing. Sure. And finally, the fourth person we haven't asked yet, but I hope to ask him right now. Shane, it would be an honor to have you up there with me, and we can represent the non-mathematics element of sports betting.
Oh, wow. Oh, geez. Pace, you put me right here on the spot. Well, I would be absolutely honored.
Saved this moment for the air.
Wow. I mean, how do I not say yes here? Absolutely. I'll be happy to join you guys up there on the panel. You, Gosu, and Elf. I'm pretty familiar with you and Gosu, obviously, already from here on the podcast, but Elf, really looking forward to getting to know you better and participating on the stage there. But as you know, I have to ask now, do I need to bring my boxing gloves?
Maybe. I'm bringing mine just in case.
Just in case.
So now that it's official and it's out there, I do think that there's nothing wrong with planning something for bet. Maybe not for that seminar, because that seminar is business. It's going to be 45 minutes to an hour talking about the benefits of live betting and some of the different things that we look at. And then obviously we're going to have to field questions, because it is a panel that will definitely be designed for the people that attend to ask us questions. But it would be really fun to, I don't know, get someone in the ring or do something that's crazy related to the Elf show in the coming weeks here as we lead up to the event.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Maybe I'll put a bounty on my head. How much do you think? How much do you think someone would pay? Like, if I offered $5,000 to anyone who could beat me in a boxing match, do you think people would want to take that?
I'm sure.
Number one, 100%. Number two, you said that you may have gotten minor concussions already. I would say forget about the Jake Paul route. Let your audience fight each other. Put a bounty on someone else's head. Put a bounty on Spanky's head.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're talking.
I don't know how Spanky would feel about me putting a bounty on his head. Yeah.
You know what? Based on the show and what you have going on the Elf show, I'm sure there's going to be no shortage of people who would be willing to show up and fight each other.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
That's awesome. Well, really looking forward to that panel at BetBash. Elf, really looking forward to meeting you in person. I just want to thank you for coming on the show and kind of giving us a real sort of behind the scenes look at the Elf show on Twitter Spaces, because it's full of drama and it's a lot of entertainment out there for sports bettors. So with that, I'll say, where can people follow you? What's your follow on Twitter?
It's if you search Elf in the bar, it should come up, but the @ is @YELFF_, just because, Elf was taken. So that's the @. But if you search Elf, it should come up. Yeah.
Right. And you're growing on other socials as well. I know you mentioned Instagram.
Yeah, I have an Instagram account. It's @YELFF__. So the same exact @ except an extra underscore. Yeah, we almost had 1,000 followers on there, so that'd be cool to hit that.
There you go, guys. If you guys want to have some entertainment in the sports betting space and just to sort of see the lighter side of things, or perhaps, I don't know, the angrier side of things, go have a look at Elf's spaces. It's a lot of fun, and we'll provide you with a lot of entertainment there. And again, just looking forward to meeting you in Vegas in August.
That was awesome. Me too. That was cool.
Right.
He asked you on the spot to be on the panel.
Yeah, I know. You really got me there. Got me there. That was wild. Dope. All right. That was awesome. Well, till then, Elf, Pace, sports bettors tuning in from around the world. Till next week, keep beating those books.
See ya. Take care, boys.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Lines. Remember to like, download, and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Have a betting story or want to be featured on our podcast? Drop a note in the comments below. And if you want to join In Play Live, use promo code Behind the Lines.